Tonight, it was a case that couldn't be cracked for 3 long years. Aruban police claimed they couldn't make a case against Judge's son, Jorn Vandersloot, but tonight, a reporter does what the entire Aruban government couldn't or wouldn't do. Crack the case of 18-year-old Alabama girl Natalee Holloway, missing from a high school senior trip to Aruba 2005. Well, months of high-tech secret surveillance solves the mystery of what happened the night Holloway disappeared. After a stunning video confession caught on tape, was Holloway thrown into choppy ocean waters late that night, still alive? Vandersloot's defense? He was high on pot when he confessed to his buddy. As we go to air tonight, the deadline for Vandersloot's defense to stop his rearrest. And tonight, Natalee Holloway's aunt, Linda Allison, with us live, taking your calls.
Jorn Vandersloot could be rearrested in the death of Natalee Holloway. The decision now in the hands of an appeals court. Vandersloot's defense had until today to file reasons not to arrest him. Prosecutors want the arrest after the videotaped confession of Vandersloot surfaced. They say it should be admissible in court. Vandersloot still maintains his confession was a lie because he was high on drugs.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. I want to thank you for being with us. After a secretly taped confession, the deadline for the defense to stop the arrest of prime suspect, Judge's son, Jorn Vandersloot.
The clock is ticking, and when it strikes zero, Jorn Vandersloot could be rearrested. The deadline for Vandersloot's defense team to explain why he shouldn't be arrested now passed. It's up to a 3-judge appeals court to decide if Vandersloot should be arrested for a 3rd time. The judge's decision could come at any moment.
The significance of this videotape is the reopening of the investigation, but also the fact that they've gotten to serve 2 additional search warrants as well, where they're looking at now his hard drive and his computer. If Vandersloot will be rearrested, it will be because of some of this physical evidence that they've gotten because this videotape finally came out.
The deadline has just come as we go to air for Vandersloot's defense to explain why he should not be rearrested. The defense has been given every opportunity. Many say the rules have been bent for Jorn Vandersloot there in Aruba. Let's go straight out to Catherine Skip, Newsweek reporter. What was the defense expected to do to stop the rearrest of prime suspect Jorn Vandersloot?
Well, I was in contact with one of his attorneys just before the show, and they're playing it very close to the vest. They said they filed, and they're waiting like everybody else to hear the decision.
Well, what I don't understand, with us tonight, Catherine Skip, Newsweek reporter, is, you know, in America, in our justice system, it's very rare that documents such as motions for arrest, arrest warrants, search warrants, very rarely are they kept secret. We believe in the sunshine being in the courtroom, open courtrooms. Why are these documents so close to the vest? Why can't we see what the sides are arguing?
Just both sides are saying the same thing, is that it's under investigation and it will all be revealed in time. It's not our justice system.
To Jossy Mansur, managing director of Diario magazine there on the island of Aruba, it's going to happen in time. Well, it's been about 3 years. How much more time do we need, Jossy?
I don't know. I think this thing should have been solved a long time ago, especially with this tape that surfaced. With this tape, anywhere else in the world, he would be in prison by now.
Out to the lines, Shonda in Kentucky. Hi, Shonda.
How you doing?
I'm good, dear. What's your question?
I was just wondering if they checked the payphone. He said he called a friend from a payphone. If they checked to see what call was made out during that particular time.
Shonda, you are absolutely correct. According to Jorn Vandersloot, one of his theories, he called for help there at a payphone. No, not help for Natalee. No. Help for him to hide the body. Now, according to his U.S. defense attorney, the Coast Guard checked the payphone and determined such a call was never made, Shonda. I don't know what jurisdiction the Coast Guard would have to check a payphone. What about it, Catherine Skip? What do we know about that payphone and why the Coast Guard would have checked it, or was that totally fabricated by the defense lawyer?
I won't go so far as to say that, but according to the prosecutors, they're still investigating that part of whether the phone was used, where the calls were made to. He also said that that phone only made calls to the U.S. And again, the prosecutor's very tight-lipped about that, but he said they're still looking at that.
Out to a special guest joining us tonight. With us is Linda Allison. This is Natalee's aunt. Thank you for being with us, Linda. Thank you very much. What do you make of the so-called phone call made from the payphone?
Well, I would have to think, considering the Marriott has several different towers there, that there's probably other local phones there that would be available, not just this one phone that they're saying is for international calling. And I am just really shocked to hear that the Coast Guard would be the one checking those phone records and not the Aruban authorities.
To Jossy Mansur with Diario magazine there on the island of Aruba. Jossy, what can you tell us? Why would the Coast Guard be checking that payphone?
I don't think they checked that phone. From the information that we have locally, no one has checked that phone so far. That phone can only be used with credit cards. The big question is, did Joran have a credit card with him that night?
The big question is what?
Did Joran have a credit card with him that night in order to be able to make a phone call from that specific phone?
You know, but it seems to me, didn't he have a cell phone, Jossy?
He should have had a cell phone with him, yes.
So why go to a payphone and make a surreptitious payphone phone call? It doesn't make sense. Shonda in Kentucky is absolutely correct. To Roxanne in Florida. Hi, Roxanne.
Hi.
What's your question, dear?
You rock, Nancy. But, okay, my question is, and it kind of pertains to the phone, the phone call thing. He said that he called someone and, he met him there, and then he took Natalee's body and dumped it. Well, what makes you think that maybe he did it himself? Because, there were boats accessible out there. If they showed that location, if that was the location they showed, there were boats out there. Well, why couldn't he have done it?
You know what? It's an angle not many people have thought of, Roxanne. Let's explore it. Out to Holly Hughes, prosecutor in Atlanta. What about him disposing of the body himself? Does the timeline really fit? Because we know that he went home and I believe logged on or tightened up his alibi within an hour or so. He was already at another location.
That's exactly right, Nancy. He did, in fact, go home, log on to his computer right away. And quite frankly, there's a lot of speculation that his father advised him to do so. This isn't a young man who wants to get his hands dirty. Once he realized he had an emergency situation on his hands, he didn't want to deal with it, so he called somebody else to do the dirty work. What he did, in fact, was extricate himself from that situation, and this is exactly what we're hearing when the FBI profiled him. They said he was a sociopath. He has no sympathy, no empathy, and he thinks he's above it all, Nancy, so he just called somebody else to get him out of trouble.
To Jossy Mansur, the managing director of Diario magazine. He's joining us there from Aruba. Jossy, let's look at the timeline. When can we finally pinpoint that Joran Vandersloot was somewhere other than with Natalee?
Well, that's very hard for us to determine. That the prosecution should have all of those on file, or the investigative team here in Aruba. We have no knowledge of that.
What do we know, Linda Allison? It's my understanding that he, for some reason, took his shoes off and hid them, walked home, and started building his alibi for that very night by logging online.